Welcome back everyone. In this tutorial video, we're diving into the basics of Unity, the powerful game development engine used to create stunning interactive experiences. Before we get started, if you do not have Unity installed on your machine, I recommend watching my video on how to set up Unity on your machine and create new projects. First, let's get acquainted with the Unity interface. As you can see, Unity is divided into several panes: the scene view, the game view, which is over here, the game view, the hierarchy, the project right here, and then the inspector over here as well. Each pane serves a specific purpose in the game development process. The scene view is where we will build and arrange our game objects such as characters, environment, and props. The game view provides a real-time preview of our game as we develop it. The hierarchy displays all the game objects in our current scene. The hierarchy here. The project pane contains all our assets, scripts, and resources used in our project. Finally, the inspector pane allows us to view and edit the properties of selected game objects. So if I select the main camera here in the hierarchy, you can see that in the inspector here, it displays the properties of the camera. Now that we are familiar with the Unity interface, let's start by adding some game objects into our scene. To add game objects into our scene, we right click on the hierarchy and then you go over to 3D objects. Right now, we're not going to see 2D objects because we do not have the 2D packages installed. So let's start with the 3D. So the 3D, as you can see, we have cube here, we have sphere, capsule, cylinder, plane, a quad, and then the text. And this is also for the text: a ragdoll, a terrain, a tree, and a wind zone. So let's start by creating a cube. So we go over to our scene over here. We are going to see our cube. So this is our cube right here. So this is its cube. So right here in our scene view, you can see over the left here, there's this tools. The first one, which is the hand tool, is used for navigation and moving around the scene. You can see here, you right click on the scene, you can move around the scene. And then scrolling the mouse wheel would zoom in and out. You can zoom in and you can zoom out using the scroll wheel. And also on the right here we have our orientation, which is used to control the orientation of our scenes. So right here it would turn to the X axis and then the Y axis, which is the top, and then the Z axis. So we can also use the right button of the mouse to control the orientation like this. So you click on the right mouse button to control the orientation as well. We can also create another game object, same process, 3D, and this time around let's create a sphere. So the sphere also is in the center, which is inside the cube. So now that we have game objects in our scene, let's learn about how to use the transform component. So we come over here to our inspector, you can see the transform component. So position is used to move the object to a different position. So right here we have the sphere, so let's move it away from the cube. Also, we can use the move tool here to control the transform. So we can move it to the right and then you see that it is moving to the negative side of the x-axis. The position moves. You can see the position is moving, and then you can also move to the y-axis, which also increases the value of the y-axis on the transform component. You can move it down, and then we can move it forward, which is the z position. You can see the z position increasing and then decreasing. And then this one right here is the rotation. So let's use the rotation on the cube. So on the x-axis, it's going to rotate on the x-axis. So you can see the cube rotating on the x-axis. And then for the y-axis, it can also rotate on the y-axis. And then for the z, it can also rotate on the z-axis. So the next one is, and also over here, we can use the rotate tool to control the rotation as well. We can use it to control the rotation here, and then like this. And also the scale. So the scale, and then we can right click on the transform and then click on reset to take everything back to default. So the scale property is used to increase the size of our game object. So if we increase the size on the x-axis, it would increase the size of the object on the x-axis like this, or decrease it, and then increase it on the y-axis, and then increase it on the z-axis. You can see it being increased on the z-axis. Let's reset back to default. So now we can also use the scale tool right over here on the tools here, and then we can increase on the x-axis, the y-axis, and then the z-axis. So the rect tool here would transform a game object in the form of a rectangle. So if we use it on the cube here, it's going to turn it into a rectangle. We use it right here, increasing it, turning it to a rectangle. If we use it on the sphere as well, it's going to try to bend it into a rectangle. Yeah. So let's reset that, and then let's move it back over here. And then the transform tool is used for controlling the entire transform. That is, moving the position, rotating, scaling. Yeah. So it controls all the three: position, rotating, and scaling. We can also add our own custom models into our scene view. For example, you can go over to mixamo.com, and then you go over to the characters, and then you download any character of your choice. I already have a character downloaded, so I will import it into Unity. So you go over to where you downloaded your character, and then you can simply drag and drop it into the project right over here where it says assets. You can drop it over there, and then it would import into Unity. And once it's done, we can drag this into our scene just like this, or we can drag it into our hierarchy right over here, and then we have it in our scene. But currently you can see is white, and then that is not what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to have some skin color, the dress and stuff. All these are part of the materials and textures. So for this, we can go about this by creating our own material, or importing the material from our custom model. So we can right click here and then create, and then we create a material. So creating a material, the material can have simply just a color. So let's set it to red. So this is our red material, and then we can drag our red and drop it on our cube. Now you can see our cube is now red. We can drag it onto our sphere, then our sphere also becomes red. We can drag it onto our character we downloaded, and our character becomes red. But let's go undo, and then yeah. So for our character, we can click on our character, and then we go over to the inspector right here. You can see model, rig, animation, and then materials. So we go over to the materials, and then we extract the materials from our character. Let's extract it into this same folder, and then let's extract the textures as well. The textures go into this same folder. So here we have it. We have our character material. This is the material on our character, so we can drag it and then drop it on our character, which is white now. So and then this is our textures right here. We have the diffuse PNG, the glossiness, the normal, and the spectacular. For now, we click on our character, and in the property that says albedo, we drag and drop our diffuse.png. So dropping our texture on it, we can see that our character now has the materials and then the textures. So you can see the skin color, we can see the glasses, we can see the dress, and then the shoe as well. So now that we have grabbed the Unity interface and working with game objects, you're well equipped to embark on a game development journey. Stay tuned for our next video where we will explore scripting and adding interactivity to our game objects. Thank you for joining us today and happy game development. Don't forget to subscribe.